And we are recording.
Correct.
So we want to welcome everyone. We've got people coming on in the waiting room that are joining. Happy to have everyone joining our event today. We are so glad to see you. Hopefully we will get to see you soon, live and in person. It is our pleasure to bring this seminar to you on behalf of Energy Huntsville. We are waiting on a couple of more people to join in. And as you're joining in, feel free to tell us who you are, what company you're with, and what brought you to the Energy Huntsville seminar this afternoon. We love to connect with you on the chat. As we're going through our presentation today, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. I'm going to be behind the scenes, so soon my camera is going to be off, and I will be behind the scenes watching the questions and helping our speaker with the slides. I'll be advancing the slides, so I'll be watching that, and if there's a burning question, we'll jump in and get that asked. We also want to remind you that if you have registered, we are going to send you information about the topics that are being discussed today. So sit back, relax, enjoy the presentation. Don't worry too much about having to take every note that there is, because we're going to send you a follow-up PDF with all of the pertinent information that is covered in our discussion today. So we are glad to have the Executive Director for Energy Huntsville joining us on the panel this afternoon. And without further ado, because we don't want to take up too much of our speaker's time, I want to hand the reins over to the Executive Director for Energy Huntsville, Mr. Cedric Davis.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm sorry I'm being Neanderthal, but I'm now here. And hi, Scott. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I am the Executive Director, as Vicki said, and I want to introduce Mr. Scott Dixon. And I think what he has to say is going to be a greater introduction for him than what I read from this paper. But he is the Regional Sales Manager for Distech Controls for Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Before working for Distech Controls, he worked for companies such as Honeywell and Precision Control Systems, supporting end users, engineers, contractors, distributors, and contracting partners around design, build, control, product issues. Wow, a mouthful. He has more than 30 years of experience in the field and a great understanding and appreciation for the changing landscape of buildings as related to integration of emerging energy, efficient and smart technology. Mr. Dixon or Scott is excited to share what is already going on in this space and what is on the horizon. And we are all in for a treat today. Please join us in welcoming Scott. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Cedric. Appreciate that. That was a wonderful intro. Thank you very much. Excited today to talk to everyone. As Cedric said, several years experience in some form in the building automation controls industry. And I'm going to have Vicki is going to run the slide deck for me, so I'll tell her next slide from time to time. So Vicki, next slide. Looks like it's stuck there, and are you seeing me as maybe some chat back as a full screen or as a partial screen?
I have the slide. What I am seeing on my screen is your contact information. Has it advanced yet? All right, we're going to stop and we're going to start over again. Okay. Little technical difficulty. So are we cooking with gas now? All right, we are cooking with gas.
Okay, so yes, next slide. Yes, as Cedric said, with Distech Controls, and I work the southeastern markets for Distech as a regional sales manager. I actually live in northern South Carolina, like almost right in the middle of all my territory. Today, thanks to AMA Lighting, they asked me if I would do a presentation on safer, efficient, and connected facilities. And let's get started. So next slide. I wanted to just to mention a little bit that I'm going to do my best to be really product agnostic. A lot of the technology that I talk about today, Distech's competitors also has. Not trying to make this a Distech presentation, but I wanted to reach out to say, as technology grows, so do companies become merging together. So a few years ago, Acuity Brands merged with my company because we wanted to share technologies in the lighting field and the building management field, so that you had a seamless connected facility to do a lot of features inside your facility. Instead of us being separate companies, we now work together to provide those features. Next slide. So I like to talk a little bit to start out about the past, the current, and the new technologies, so that we can see where we've been and where we're going, and how the world's become so connected today. Next slide. So I don't know if everyone remembers, long time ago, if you ever used this phone, most of us that are a little older actually used this phone. It was a Bell telephone. It was a rotary dial. My mother and father were born in Roanoke, Virginia. My dad graduated with an engineering degree from VPI. Everyone today would know that as Virginia Tech University. His brothers, most of them worked on AT&T. They were linemen. They worked the power lines, and fed him to an opportunity with his degree to move to Indianapolis, Indiana, where I was born. A manufacturing plant there called Western Electric was building these phones. And with his degree, he became a plant manager for several production lines and did that for most of his life. But think back then, if you needed someone's phone number, you dialed 411 on a rotary dial and you got an operator, and then you could inquire as to who you want to connect to. It's a long time ago, but maybe not that far ago. Next slide. So the game changer, as I had to sit by a desk with a rotary dial phone and a cord to my earpiece and my voice piece, a company called Uniden came out with a cordless phone. It had an antenna, and now not too far from the base, I could walk around my house and I had push buttons that I could actually dial phone numbers with. And I could be a little more freer because I had a wireless phone. And then that was there for a while. That actually eventually closed my father's plant. He took early retirement because they could not retool for this type of technology, which soon came into flip phones, and then soon came into a BlackBerry. And then, as you can see today, most of us use some sort of an iPhone or an Android, and we just can't live without it. It's got apps, it's got contact information, it lets me do speaker, wireless. I can Skype and see the cohort's face on the other side of the phone. And then all of a sudden, all the other apps that came into play that I can use at my fingertips, whether I want to play games, check the weather, look who won the ball game last night. Just through that short time, how technology has grown. And this type of technology is now being introduced in the facilities and buildings that we all work in. Next, please. So a little more on the phone technology as just from an iPhone, how it's grown. This is called a Ciceret. This particular device is a bracelet that you can activate, and through a low-level Bluetooth signal, if my phone's not too far away, it will project my iPhone on my arm. And I literally can scroll with my finger up and down my arm and read email. You can see here he's looking at the local weather. Kind of a unique way that all of a sudden an iPhone turned into a bracelet, and now I have an automated arm. Next slide. This is a ring. It's a Google ring. I don't know if a lot of you have seen this, but you now have a way to use a ring to connect your email, right? Do your text messages. Of course, you can see the time, and you can actually make phone calls with an earbud or listen to a radio through your earbud. Kind of unique technology from our phone technology now going to a ring. I always chuckle and say it's going to change the weddings of our future until Google do us part. Everyone's going to have the Google wedding ring. All right. Next slide. So a lot of you can look at that and guess and say, what might that be? Well, that is a version of a prototype to where that might be your actual next iPhone. Paper thin, bendable, not breakable. Still, you can use touchscreen type display where you can scroll, look at emails. So our technology keeps evolving to something maybe more efficient. Next slide. So I like to bring this one up. It's a little different. We all have experiences now in our life where we can order online. We can sit in our chair at home and we can order almost anything we want from a Walmart or an Amazon. Plenty of websites, Wayfair, that you can look through products. This is a grocery store in South Korea. And the idea of maybe getting out of the house, but still using the technology. So there are no products in that store in the display room where you would walk and search out your groceries. Those are all touchscreen displays. And so she can connect there and she can touch a product, see if it's on sale, ask if she could have a 3-for-1 price. She can then say, I would like that in my basket. I'd like that delivered at home. I'd like that ready to my car when I leave. And here's how I want to pay for that. Uniquely, she goes to the store. She might be so connected that as she turns the corner, they might just tell her, you've looked at this product for over 3 minutes. I'm going to give you a coupon for it. It goes to her phone. She can scan it at the register, and that could be added to her cart with the delivery method she's looking for and the payment method she's looking for. I brought this here because I'm going to talk about it here in just a minute. So next slide. So trends affecting the bottom line. Facilities today, where we work, where we have fun, where we might be in a hospital, where we might be educated at university, all of those facility owners, all right, are starting to understand and have for a while that there's trends that affect their bottom line. And it's taking care of the people. If you take care of people with inside your facility, you're safe, you're efficient, you're comfortable, you're connected. People like to flock towards those buildings to work, to get educated. It might be a connection like at that grocery store we just saw. Taking care of the people inside your facility means so much more to building owners. And second to that is taking care of the planet. Being sustainable and efficient with how you run your buildings and facilities these days actually turn into profits. Even though you may have spent money on technology to get you a certain level, people like to go to that grocery store. People with inside a facility want to know that they're in an efficient facility and they're safe, and that the concepts of the building owners are actually doing both of these, protecting the people and protecting the planet, resulting in profits. So the technology I'm going to talk to a little bit about buildings and where we're going with IP-based controls and connected buildings actually is helping companies make more money. Okay, next slide. So a property manager called Jones Lang LaSalle back in 2016, they put out a survey, and you can search this online if you want to look at more details. We've always been playing from the building management side and the lighting controls and temperature controls and safety. We're always down at the $3 per square foot for energy savings. And that's great, but there's more that can happen with that. These safe, connected, efficient buildings actually up the rent inside a commercial office space to where Jones Lang LaSalle says, when we put in a connected, safe, efficient building, we're now getting $30 per square foot out of rent. People like to work in those types of places. But as well, since the lighting's good, since it's comfortable, they're also getting more productivity. People aren't stressed about working in a building that's maybe not so comfortable or the lights aren't so well lit. they like going to that facility, and actually productivity goes up, and they're starting to see where they're getting $300 a square foot out of productivity, whether it's people inside their offices or people inside the offices that are renting that space are finding they're making more per square foot. And just like I showed you with the lady shopping at an automated grocery store, that facility is now making $3,000 per square foot. But by putting in safe, efficient buildings, you get all 300, and maybe 3,000 based on how you want to operate your facility, whether it's a Target store that sells products, or a grocery store, or maybe it's an airport that's connected and allows you to know where the closest restaurant is that might be open on a 10-minute wait, knowing that your flight comes out in 30 to 40 to 50 minutes. So it gives you an idea of how to change the space into a more productive selling space, at the same time offering everything that people look for today in a facility. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk today about some controls. I'm going to talk about some software. Even though the page shows the Distech products, again, our competitors, Honeywell, Johnson, Siemens, all have some fashion of these types of products with a variety of different features. So you'll have to search a little to find the ones you want. But the features I'll talk about that are available today, if you'll notice, these are controllers that control heating and cooling equipment. The one on the left would control rooftop air handling units, maybe a central plant. It's going to have expandable inputs and outputs, so you can add modules in case you had a large air handling unit or a lot of points of control for pumps and chillers and boilers in a central plant, pulling in energy data from energy meters or flow meters. You can see that some of these products will have handoff auto switches right on the controller to allow you to override when required. Some of those handoff auto switches actually allow you to put it in manual and open or close a valve for heating and cooling during a service request. The one there in the middle, the smaller ones for a variable air volume box, we call those VAV boxes. If you'll notice, they all have a Wi-Fi dongle on them, and I'll talk about that in just a second. All of these controllers in today's world are connected with a Cat5 cable, and they have a switch built in, and they daisy chain a Cat5 cable from controller to controller, from rooftop unit to rooftop unit, and they go back to a switch, and they're connected to an Ethernet connection that allows you then to connect them to a main server level to gather information about your building, temperature, humidity, possibly where a fan has failed to operate, or if you have a dirty filter. All that information from these controllers are now done through an IP network, connected network, just like all the desktops throughout your office. Same type of technology, taking controllers with power to bring data to a central location to help you manage your facility quicker. These controllers are stronger these days than they've ever been. Think about a controller that's got 4 gig of memory in it. Think of the amounts of history pages and alarms. Think about the clock speeds on the processor are greater than they've ever been. Going back to the phones, if you would buy an iPhone that only stores 25 pictures and then the picture rolls away and in case you didn't save it, well, you might not buy that particular brand of iPhone because you want more than that. Same things happen to these controllers. There's a lot of power inside, there's speed, there's efficiency, and there's a lot of memory to do a lot of different types of data. So you can connect these controllers through a Cat5 cable network using your IT team to help manage all these IP addresses that go back to a front-end server, gathering information, showing graphical displays. You also can connect them through a Wi-Fi dongle. So between controllers, standard Wi-Fi, like you might be at a Hilton Garden Inn or at a Starbucks, same type of standard technologies being passed into HVAC controllers these days. Uniquely, you're starting to also see a term called Open API, which is Application Program Interface. It's the same thing you use every day when you go to your phone. You take your iPhone and you click the weather app and you ask the weather server for information. What's my weather going to be today or throughout the week? So you can plan your schedules around the weather. Open API is the protocol, the language that allows an app on a mobile phone to talk to a server somewhere in the world and ask questions. We all use Open API every day, every time we touch an app. So putting that type of technology into an HVAC or a lighting controller now allows you to write apps, develop apps to connect directly to these controllers as required through a Wi-Fi dongle or through a desktop in a network. We're seeing that trend in the market. High speed, think of connecting controllers through a Cat5 and IP address, how quickly you can do software updates, firmware updates, make program changes, move data to different devices, looking at your building through your phone, looking at your building through an app, looking at your building through a desktop or a notepad, having a serviceman actually walking around your facility with a notepad, and he has the balancing app, and he actually can go to a VV box above the ceiling. Without even opening the ceiling, he can put his balancing hoods on the supply and the return air of a room and rebalance per an engineer's design through the app on his phone. So those types of technologies that we use every day are now becoming all over the facilities that we work in, play in, and actually get educated in. Next slide, please. So with that becomes a variety of new features. How about a wall sensor that actually is a touchscreen display, just like your phone, almost looks just like your phone. On that wall sensor, I can go up to that sensor and I can change temperatures, fan settings. If you wanted to connect your window blinds or your lighting or your CO2 in the space or humidity levels, you can go to that particular touchscreen just like you would your phone, and you could change those settings. With that, we're seeing the changes were apps. Since there's open APIs in those controllers, I now can take an app on my phone and connect to these sensors on the wall with a Bluetooth connection, and I can have the same display on my phone. As I sit at my desk and work, I don't have to get up to make those settings. I can use my phone to change the settings throughout my space. I can change the light levels. I can lower the blinds. You can enter scenes. It's projection mode in the conference room, and I go to my phone and I change it to projection mode. Now, uniquely in today's world, these types of sensors actually have some double advantages because I don't have to touch the sensor, that I can use my own personal phone. It makes the sensor a little COVID proof. Not everyone's touching the sensor after everyone touches the sensor because they're using their phone instead. So having some of these unique technologies that we use today, actually, because you're future ready and you apply some of this technology in your facility, it meets the needs of ongoing changes in our market. And who would have thought a COVID pandemic would make a difference with a Bluetooth wall sensor and an app? But it does. All right. Next slide. So I talked a little bit about HVAC controls and lighting controls, and you're starting to see these types of activities within facilities. You start to be able to do a lot of different things with technology. So your HVAC controller in the ceiling also controls your lights. It's all connected through a Cat5 wire. You're able to connect it to a device that controls your window blinds. And there's this sensor I talked about on the wall. But then there's an added feature. You can see the little Bluetooth sensor. So now we can add extra sensors into our HVAC system. And now we can do some wayfinding. We can start to see where people are in the facility. We can start to manage and do people management in your facility. How is that important? I don't know, maybe you look at how the cleaning crew comes into your facility at night, and this particular device has shown that no one's been in that office for 2 days. Does it need to be cleaned? Looks like everyone congregates here in the morning. Why is the coffee machine on the other side of the office? It allows you to make changes to be more efficient, to be more productive, to have a better user experience when you're inside your facility. The Bluetooth added devices will also allow you to add to that app that I just showed you on your phone, so that I can start adding some features like I need to know where that conference room is, and it helps me wayfind through the conference room. Or maybe it's that grocery store we just saw. The lady's looking for a certain type of soup, and so she can enter on the app and it'll wayfind her like a Google map to where that soup is. I've heard stories where you're in a store these days that's a connected store, and you wanted shoes, shirt, and a hat, and you used your app and you got wayfinded through the store to get this shoes, shirt, and a hat, and you stood by the ties too long, and it just sends you a coupon. You've been there too long, 2 for 1. Helps you make decisions, helps you make smart decisions, and at the same time sell products. But you enjoy the shopping experience, so you go back to those facilities because it's connected and you like the user experience. These apps are becoming more and more powerful to where maybe your company news feeds are also connected through this whole solution, and you can send that down to the phone from time to time, where the president wrote an article today and actually shows up inside your office on your phone. It allows you to do things to chat between employees. Do you want to go jogging at lunch? And you can send invites to meet in the lobby at noon. It'll allow you to do some things like, I went to go get a cup of coffee and the machine's broken. And so I can quickly use that same app to send a message to the service department that coffee machine floor 4 by the break room's not working. And it gets sent, and eventually it gets done. And it was a quick, easy way to recognize how to be more efficient. And the coffee maker probably got fixed a long time before trying to make a phone call or walking down to the maintenance office to get that fixed. Those types of efficiencies throughout facilities are our future, and it's where people want to work. Next slide. So again, we're going to bring it all together a little bit. So here I've got a connected facility. I got all the HVAC's got an IP address. All my lighting's connected through IP. I have a garage full of parking lot lights. And actually, when you go into the garage, you'll see lights down the aisleway. It shows you where the green spots are. They're lit green because those car spaces are open, or they're lit red because they're taken, or there's a sign that says these are all taken. So you go to the next floor. It allows us through wireless technology to connect to the parking lot lights. So now you've got your whole facility, inside, outside, connected. You've also got sensors that wayfind help people through the facility. Maybe the parking lot lights actually near the front let you know where the blue spaces are for handicap, because those lights have a light blue hue to them. Or maybe for the elderly, all right, there's a different color, maybe red and green for where spaces are open. Insurance companies say that probably 60% of our car accidents are in parking lots, where people were driving around the lot looking for a spot and someone backs into them. Well, if you had a more efficient way to guide that parking lot through technology, what a great idea. What a great idea that maybe you know how many spaces are left in your office. Maybe you start to make decisions down the road that I need a bigger parking lot, or I need to add a parking garage. Those types of data that we're collecting on how we run our facilities help you make future decisions to continue to be more safe and more efficient. Next slide, please. So technology empowering end users. I have a few slides I'd like to talk about on how this technology is getting to end users and how they manage their facilities in a unique way for future, for current, and also for showing sustainability and showing how they're taking care of people and the planet in their own facilities. So next slide. So this is a kiosk. This is a dashboard, and that's becoming much and more prominent in our world today. This is an office space in Boston, and I think it's a 10-story high-rise with the office space. He wanted to show the people inside his facility how sustainable, what his carbon footprint really is. He's taken the time through his energy uses, not only showing you live data with KW, KWH, his CO2 emissions. You can see he's actually calculated how many acres of forest he's used to operate his facility, or maybe his business as his trucks travel delivering products, or as his people come in and out of the office with company cars, how many gallons of gas his company uses a day, miles driven, barrels of oil, train cars of coal. It also teaches behavior. At the same time, people look at that and they make decisions about their life to make these numbers lower, more efficient, more sustainable. So not just being sustainable is just about an owner in a building wanting to be sustainable. It's also about the people inside the building having the knowledge of what's going on inside their facility actually helps drive some more efficiency and more sustainability. It's important to people today. They're doing the right things. So this slide I think is kind of unique. I really like the time that he went through. He's got some tabs. It's a touch screen, so you can touch tabs and get different histories if you wanted to take the time in his lobby to look at his facility. He's sharing his data, which I think is very unique. Right? It makes people feel really good about the owner of that facility, and they're happy to be inside that facility. Next slide. This is another one. So this is unique. So picture a school system. This is a school system in Western Indiana, and they've decided that they wanted to show some sustainability on the slide. So in the kiosk, when you walk into the school lobby, this particular dashboard will show, when the soccer game is, the next glee club. It'll allow you to show how you get tickets. Maybe the team's traveling, it'll show you directions, but every now and then it'll show this in a different fashion from time to time. This one particular one says, to order to charge 62,000 iPads, you'll need 43.8 kW of energy to do that with. The elementary school, the middle school, and even the high school will post some of these sustainability type information to students. And it starts at a younger age. They're asking, well, what's the KW? And I kind of want to know, if I turn the TV on, how much does that charge, or how much energy is used? So it starts to ask questions. And so some of the school system actually has, part of the curriculum is actually teaching energy, and they show that, and the young students are starting to understand that they want to make people more safe and efficient. They want to do things to protect the planet. It actually drove some more schools as the taxpayers, and they're going to build a new elementary school. One of the main questions during the town meeting about that project was, are they going to have the dashboards? I thought that was really unique that the people in the community wanted to make sure that if they're doing a new school, are they going to continue to do the efficiencies that they've been doing in that school? So kind of unique way to continue to also promote the growth of your school and more facilities. One efficient building leads to another efficient building. So, next slide. So we're going to talk about some of those dashboards and some of those connectabilities on information and how end users are using that. Everything changed a few years ago with a term called HTML5. It's a way that you design and make graphics. Every website today is using HTML5 to do the graphics. It used to be Java. Java became antiquated real quickly. Java had some disadvantages. If I wanted to make a graphic floor plan for my facility, and I wanted to promote it on a notepad, an iPhone, and a desktop, I had to make 3 different graphics. So there's cost. not very efficient. Then every time I want to change a graphic, I got to change them for each mobile type device, each graphical display. HTML5 changed that. When you make a graphic in HTML5, it actually will auto size that graphic depending on which mobile device you're using today to view that information from that facility on. Really unique feature, allowed us to be a lot more productive, a lot more efficient to get information to a graphical user interface. How many times you're creating a graphic for a brand new building or even a renovation facility, and you have to actually custom make these floor plans. It was very inefficient to have to make them 3 different times. Next slide. So with that concept of graphics, where we're going in today's world, this is a customer site that has multiple facilities. They have a facility, 3 in Florida, 2 in Atlanta. They have a couple in Alabama and then 2 in Tennessee. They wanted to manage their facilities, all of them. So they put together, in today's world, you can start using graphical user interface for analytics. They can start gathering data from multiple sites, and they can bring it into their main control room. They can look at their efficiencies. By doing this, they've boasted on the millions of dollars they've saved year over year, because they're now looking and becoming more sustainable in all their facilities. And they're, yes, it does look like Cedric's office. I see that on the chat. But with that, a more efficient way to run multiple sites. You know, when you look at Alabama, just talking with Vicki, I asked a little bit about the universities with inside Huntsville, and the University of Alabama Huntsville's got a campus. Well, they also have UAB in Birmingham, and they also have UAB, or the University of Alabama. And having some kind of a control room like this, looking at all those campuses and seeing how different campuses act differently, and be able to take that information and apply that to other campuses, starts to save energy, starts to make it more efficient, starts to have this technology they've put in place to allow them to continue to be future ready to accept new technology. So they can continue to maintain those savings and efficiencies and a better user experience for the students at those campuses, all right, for that safe, efficient, comfortable environment. Next slide. So here's an example of a floor plan. So uniquely, we're starting to do different things with different technologies and bringing different types of information into our graphical user interfaces for facilities, and different ways to connect to these, whether I'm walking around my notepad connecting to a Wi-Fi dongle, or I'm sitting at a desk, or am I sitting in a control room and looking at a facility in Birmingham while my office is in Huntsville. So we can do a lot of different things because of HTML5 graphics. So this graphical layout right here was custom made per an architectural drawings of the facility. You can see the pink in the side. The pink may be, that's where my lights are the highest, the brightest. And it could tell me actually where the luminaires are in each little area. Maybe the gray, or the light gray, means those lights are not as bright, and maybe just these gray areas is actually a restroom and the lights are off until someone walks in. But it starts to give you a quick look every morning at your facility where your lights are. Maybe it's temperature. Maybe there's where my temperatures are. Right now, my temperatures might be a little high in the pink areas. So I can start to build graphics to where I can start to do some spectrograph based on where my temperatures or my lights or my CO2 or humidity. We talked about wayfinding with BLE sensors mounted throughout your ceilings and your walls. Maybe that's where most of the people are today. Maybe the clear areas are where there's no one. It starts to give you an idea of how you want to manage your facility. Maybe maybe since no one's using these conference rooms because right now our tennis space is down, I should probably close a couple. And my dad has told me that quickly through a graphical user color display. Maybe I can click, right, actually on an office space. And next slide, please. And I actually get a picture of the HVAC unit there. I actually have a tree on the side that can be custom made to show a variety of different types of units, maybe to different floor plans, maybe different buildings. But this happens to be a little VAV box in the ceiling. It's got a, looks like electric heat. So you can custom design little pieces. Actually, if this was live, you would actually see almost like arrows of airflow, and you see a fan spinning. And if the electric heat was on a certain stage, it might be a little redder or full red if it was fully on. You can start touching the touch screen or use your mouse to start changing set points, look at history pages, redo scheduling. We put a little green leaf there. If it's within set points, the leaves stay. If someone decides in that room to raise the set point higher, might start dropping some leaves. Just a quick little way to look at being more efficient, being a little more green. That same little green leaf is actually on the sensor. Teaches behavior. As people change their set point up and down, they may lose a few leaves off their tree on the display of that sensor. And so trying to, again, get the people inside the facility to think as efficiently as the owner does. Next slide. This is a slide of an air handling unit that actually serves air to a VV box. And look at all the details you can put into these units now. You can see everything inside the units. You can see all the sensors. You can see all the sensors readings. You can click on fans and override them. You can click on the schedule, and maybe you want to run for 2 hours longer tonight. You can look at history pages of what temperatures were coming in and out of these units. Some are getting so sophisticated, they're putting flow meters on the chilled water coil to actually know how much energy they're actually using with chilled water through that coil on a daily basis. Again, taking that type of data to your front end user interface, or maybe to a control room like I showed you, so you're actually getting real-time data on how efficient your units are, allows you to make decisions on changing some of those ideas to make them more efficient. But again, you're getting a good visual effect of how your units work. A lot of these are custom graphics. A lot of these are built by building solution providers. But there is a whole set of graphical tools to allow me to add more pieces of ductwork or different types of sensors or extra coils or different dampers or air measuring stations inside the ductwork. So you can add as many points of control you want to for as much data as you want to bring back. But this is a nice view of where the graphics in today's world are going for a facility director to view his facility with. It's getting unique that we're starting to add energy data as well. So even the CFO of the company sometimes will pull up these pictures just to see some of his actual energy usage. Those are becoming more important to corporations maintaining multiple sites as well as one. Next slide, please. So we mentioned we talk about it, and as much as I mentioned how an Acuity and Distech have combined technologies, we're seeing more and more of different types of companies combining technologies. And this isn't to promote just Distech. Other companies are doing the same thing. Our competitors are doing the same thing. But this actually is an air purification unit to make to feel a little safer, more efficient. It has UV light control inside. UV can be very harmful to the human skin if you're left under that directly. So bringing the air through the unit, going through a filter and a UV light, and then blowing the air back in is much more efficient than actually making people leave and then pounding UV light into the room. So this particular company is hooked up with my company, and actually the IP controller that we've been talking about for lighting and temperature control throughout a facility is actually inside the unit, and that little bitty touchscreen display is on the outside of the unit. So you can use your Bluetooth app to actually sit at your desk and look at these readings. The other thing is I'm getting data back to the front end. I'm getting data to put to a kiosk in a lobby to let people know where the UV machines have disinfected areas of the building, and at what time, maybe a day ago. Letting the idea that you can have on wheels and through a Wi-Fi, you can connect it as you move it around a facility for an hour or two in certain areas. Maybe it's elementary school that's got 30 classrooms and they only bought 5 of these, but every night they put 1 in each classroom, and they've got the data to show that every other day, every classroom's being disinfected. Or you actually buy a standalone that sits in any room you want to, and it sits there all the time, and it gives you the data back of how clean the room is and how long the unit's been running. So uniquely getting information inside these units, connecting companies' technologies together to get products and solutions out to the real world that people are looking for today. Boy, how important is it today that that our facilities are actually getting UV and getting germs and bacterias, including our current bacteria that's changed our world. UV light will kill those types of bacteria. So wanted to at least bring this up, how unique we're connecting technologies into different technologies. I wouldn't have thought so much that 10 years ago that our controllers would actually be helping to run UV machines to help clean spaces that we all spend time in. So,
hey Scott, we've got a question that came in.
Sure.
Uh-oh, we got some feedback too. We got this question. So can you track where the machines are and how long before the room will be cleaned and available?
Yes, you can. That is a great question. That's the whole purpose of getting this IP-based technology into these types of units, is that you know where it was, you know where it got connected inside the facility. And yes, that data of how long it sat there and cleaned before it was moved to another room and how many times this week it's been in the room is definitely all part of this technology and the solution. So yes, great question. All your questions are true. That can be done.
Okay, we got one more question that came in.
Yes.
Can the air cleaners detect what types of particles are passing through the device? Report the impurities, its handling, and such things like that.
So it's a great question, and to my knowledge, I wish I had your answer, and I don't mind saying that I don't know all the technologies. My guess at this time is I don't think these particular units have that capability to actually define which bacteria is coming through. It's just taking air particles and putting UV lights, and if there happens to be certain bacteria that come through that are affected by UV, those molecules will be destroyed before they leave the unit. So great question, and I like that because I think I'm going to pass that along to our research and development. That what a great idea that certain types of bacteria that seem to be common in buildings like mold or even a COVID actually could have been detected by the unit at the same time. So that's a great thought. I don't think these units have that capability, but I sure think with someone asking that question, they will in the future, right? Okay, next slide. So not only through having mobile devices or permanent devices at the floor level, again, keeping the UV off of the human skin, we're also seeing lighting companies that are actually building fixtures that bring air through the lights and then through the ultraviolet and then back down the space with the same capability of taking the technology or scheduling when and how often you want to turn on the UV piece of this lighting device. So now you're combinizing, making a combination there between lights and air distribution. So at the same time that you're delivering safe, comfortable, clean CO2, humidity, and temperature levels into space, you can also now be adding the UV light capability to ensure that your space is clean with some of the same data. So Uniquely, we're starting to see with all this IP technology, all these different companies that made different products, we're able to now bring that seamlessly because we're all talking the same language between each other, and then getting that data to a spot we all can use. All right. Next slide. So getting close to the end, I hope this has been a good time frame, but I can't leave without talking about cloud-based technology. I know that all my competitors do. Our company has cloud-based services. A lot of the processes that I do just as my ongoing job requires me to connect into our cloud and submit data to my sales team. But the same thing applies to multiple buildings or just one building. The idea that there's data that's being brought out through all these IP addressable controllers with open APIs, with real-time speed, seamless data, all right? And you take it into the cloud and you store it there. And you can respond down to your building and say, every so often I want more information, or I'm just going to sign in right now and I want to see the information from my first floor. All that becomes capable surely through your desktop and a server within your building. But as the years go, bringing that data to the cloud starts developing some new software techniques. I can start putting my energy analytics into a server in the cloud. I can start to real-time taking data from different buildings that I own into that cloud-based service. So where I can start comparing, why is this chiller different than the one in this facility? Why is this VAV box air handler seemed to need a lower discharge air temp more often than the other one in another facility? Maybe I want to take some data from one facility, take it to the cloud, drop it into another facility, and actually use that in a programming sequence to change some efficiencies, applying one facility's efficiencies into another seamlessly. We get a lot of property managers that like to store data, and they may not use it for a long time, but if I had 10 years of data from my 25 buildings that I manage, and it's time to think about, do I renovate, do I sell? I've got data to look back to see how these buildings are being efficient. Maybe I actually want to sell my more efficient buildings because in today's world, I get more money for them. Or maybe I use that data to say, I need to unload the inefficient buildings to someone else. And I've got those types of data that I can work with. So don't think that cloud services isn't going away. There's always the question of cybersecurity and data and where's it going and who's getting access to it. Well, that's why our company relies on Microsoft because they are cloud experts, and we use Microsoft Azure as our cloud-based services. So bringing that information to the world, bringing that information to a kiosk, storing that information and using that information, you'll see cloud services more and more in our life. You know, every time that you go shop at Amazon, you're going through one of their databases somewhere, and your information is being collected and stored. It's amazing how when I bought a golf club, it seemed like for the next 2 months, I kept getting golf club ads from Amazon. Do you want to buy some more clubs? We got more clubs for you. Or is it shoes, shirts, or hats? They recognize what you like. So our world's becoming more connected, and it's to be more efficient. Not just inside our facilities, but outside our facilities. Next slide. So leaving you here, I want you to think, so we're all involved in some sort of with this business. Thank everyone for being today. I know we've got a variety of different people that are experts in their field, from engineering, from product sales, from products, management skills. But as you look all around with the different variety of people we have today, and you're involved with new construction or renovation of the buildings that we work in, play in, live in today, all right? It's so important going forward that you ask your building solutions providers, from lighting to temp control, I don't know, to I don't know, maybe it's the copy you're buying for all your facilities. looking at all the products that go inside a facility today, ask what their current and future ready capabilities are, making sure you're putting in IP-based products. Nice to have some open API so that they're really connected to the world, to allow you to write software programs, to do different things, to be more efficient, more safe, and more comfortable. A lot of my competitors have a lot of these products. I think it's really important to ask, where are they at future ready? If you put in the products that we put in 5 years ago, you're not going to be able to use an app to talk to them. You're not be able to connect to a notepad and a Wi-Fi dongle. So you can go through your facility and your maintenance guy can stand right next to a unit and pull the graphic up and make changes during his service call almost seamlessly. So with that, important.
I do have one question. One question came in.
Sure.
Is it, and it's probably from a couple of slides back, but the question is it safe to work under all types of UV products?
My understanding, and I don't want to mislead you, is my understanding it's not safe to have a direct UV light on you for a long period of time, and long might mean 15 minutes, but to be healthy, it's not healthy to have a UV light on your skin for a period of time. So that's why those products I showed you actually have them hidden away so that the UV light's not officially being projected into the space. It's being projected inside a box so that the air passes through and gets cleaned, and then that air comes into the space without bacteria. I hope that helps answer that question. I don't know if there's particular levels of UV lights that could kill bacteria that's safe to be under. I've just been told that it's not safe to have UV light on your body for a period of time. And so with that, important, really look at the technology you can have. Make sure you're future ready. Make sure what you're putting in your facilities can handle future technology in the future. And having an IP addressable product inside your facility allows you to connect a lot of different data and offer a lot of different efficiencies in a very seamless manner compared to the way we've always tried to do it with a lot of different technologies, taking way too much time to find a way to connect them, way too much service to keep them connected. I'll end my day with those thoughts. I thank you. Hope this was informative. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you understand where our world is today and what we're doing with building automation and lighting controls. Cedric, thank you for having me, and AMA Lighting, thanks for having me on.
Okay, is it back to me?
Yes.
Okay, if it is, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much, Scott, and you're getting virtual applause. So you're going to have to accept that today. They're all virtual, but we'd like to thank you. And it was just a great presentation, and the kinds of things that you said. And yes, that picture did look like my office back in the day, even on the Neanderthal time. But I was real impressed that now, you know, it's at such a greater level than where we were at the particular time that we were doing this. And now you can do it even down to the home level, and that's good. I want to say thanks to everyone on the call, and a special thank you to the Energy Huntsville board for supporting this. Special thank you. And then thank you to Vicky for pulling this together. And as you know, she's a great driver, and we appreciate that. Thank you for Scott and his team. And I'm talking about Scott Williams and his team, and especially to Chris Basselin and his team for pulling all this together. And we just think that it went so well. A couple of things that I'd like to say, and I see a few things in chat, and if you don't get that answer, there will be follow on to answer these particular things that you find that we're getting here, and feel free to put them in. But number one, I'd like to say Happy Earth Day. Today is Earth Day, but in the energy world, we believe that every day is Earth Day, and that's why we do the kind of work that we do. And we are so thankful to that. But I thought this was a great day to have this. I think I saw 36 people on board. I think that was a good number for this presentation, and that was good. And I just want to say, join us at Energy Huntsville. You can be a member. Go to energyhuntsville.com. You can be a member for $50. You can be a company member for $250. So feel free to go there and join us. We'd love to have you. And lastly, what I have to say is in June, we're following on with another webinar. And we don't have all the details today, but it's going to be Huntsville Utilities is going to be providing that. So we will, as soon as we get that worked out in the next week or so, that information will come out. And when I saw what all Huntsville Utilities is doing, I think it's great to have them to follow this, to come on to be a part of that. Again, thank you very much. Vicki, I don't know if you have any last words, but we're doing good too. We're coming in like 1 minute before it's time to get off, and time is precious. So Scott, you did a good job. Come in like that. So
there were a couple of things that did come in. We've got one question. Any comments on these products that meet military cybersecurity requirements? That is a big question. So if we don't have quite time to do that, we can definitely follow up. But if you can, kind of address it real quick.
Sure. So you are correct. The military is very concerned about having Wi-Fi products in their facility. And the cybersecurity piece, but it's changing. I don't mind saying that Fort Benning is looking at doing their first smart barracks, all IP. All right, looking at trying to do different types of networks outside the military network, inside facilities that maintenance can get to, and the soldiers can have an experience. I'll give you an interesting thought from the base commander. He says, my soldiers are going to go somewhere one day where it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hot. It's going to be cold. It's going to be wet. It's going to be dry. But while they're here, they're going to get a good night's sleep in my facilities. He says, I owe them that. So that was kind of interesting that was his drive to build their first barracks. There are a few other military installations that are now going into IP. It's taken a long time. Most of them, you're correct, are still shy. But it's a great question. It's just a matter of working with that base, coming up with a plan to make sure they're cyber secure, working with their IT team. So, yeah.
And we had one other question. Chris raised his hand. I hope we have it. We still have you here. I'm going to give you permission to come on, Chris, and we're going to, if you can unmute, you can ask your question. There we go.
Hey, Vicki, I think you've answered all my questions.
Okay, all right. Well, cool.
I was trying to applaud and I hit the raise hand button.
Oh, well, hey, we can do that. There we go.
Again.
Yes. Well, for today's event, I just had a couple of notes. This was really, really good. And those of you, I have heard the presentation, I have seen the presentation, but I still learned so much today. This was great. Scott did a great job of bringing it home for us and showing us how we can be efficient with our resources, no matter what we're doing. If we are a small mom and pop operation, all the way to our government contracting and major corporate campuses in research parks, even in our own Cummings Research Park. This has been phenomenal information. I am definitely going to rewatch the replay. Great concepts, great ways that we can be efficient. And I know everyone who has been on this call, there is some kind of way you can put to use something Scott has brought to our attention today. And because I know you can, if we have your registration information, if you register for this, we're going to send you a follow-up PDF that gives you all the relevant details about what Scott talked about today and his contact information. So if you would like to know more about the tools and resources and efficiencies that Scott has talked about today, be sure to open that email when it comes. And if you think of a couple of people that could be that could also benefit from this information, share it. We do want to share this information. It's not just for people in the energy industry. I am a marketer and I am not an engineer, but I have learned so much and I just saw so many ways that these principles could be implemented in our everyday lives, from the things that we do around our homes to the things that we do in our businesses. So from the communications department and team with Energy Huntsville, I say thank you, Scott. This has been a very well put together presentation, and I look forward to many, many more presentations that Energy Huntsville is able to bring to the Huntsville community and to those surrounding who want to join us virtually. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined us. We had phenomenal attendance today. And we will see you all next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.